What's going on, guys? We're actually live, but I'm going to try and make a DIY kind of tutorial video in one shot, one take live and explain how to paint a frame just like I have here. Am I saying this is perfect? No. But it is better than nothing at all, especially better than the way it was before. And if you want to see how bad this truck was before, you can see either one of the two previous videos that I made on this Dodge truck. I am nearing completion of the work on this truck. So this will probably be one of the last videos that I'll make talking about it. And I'm going to be very specific. So bear with me. It's not quite like a normal live stream that I make on this channel. So let's dive right into this, and I'm going to show you the result. So keep in mind, I am in no way a body shop or a professional painter, but this is a lot better than it was. This thing was completely covered in scale and rust, and yes, I did cover up some scale and rust, which is not ideal, but this is definitely going to help it last longer. The bed was already off the truck, so this is a perfect time to do it. If for whatever reason you're taking the bed off of your truck, please don't hesitate to attempt this, because this can save you a lot of heartache in the future. So this is the result that we have. Not too bad. That should help prevent more rust in the future. Now, what did it take to do this? And just to verify, this has dried in a pretty reasonable amount of time, probably about 5 or 6 hours it took to dry. So, what did it take to do this? So the first thing that I used here was just this cheap, very cost-effective can of Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement paint. I use low gloss black. They have a couple different colors. I mean, ranging from yellow, orange, John Deere green, every color really you can imagine a tractor would be. They sell this paint. But I didn't want to make it anything crazy. I wanted it to look like something you could probably expect to see come out of a factory, so I chose this low gloss black paint. I also used acetone, but I think lacquer thinner should be fine. And so this is the acetone I used. Here's the lacquer thinner. The can suggests mineral spirits, but I had these here, and so I decided to use those, and that was fine. And the last thing I used was this hardener. So ATX, that's the numbers on it. You don't have to use this particular hardener. I'm going to explain this a little bit better. So this you can buy at Tractor Supply, and it's about $16 a can. You can get either of these at Walmart. I think they might sell it at Tractor Supply as well. Where else? AutoZone, Advance, pretty much anywhere. Big can of lacquer thinner like this is like 25 bucks at AutoZone, but this little can of acetone ain't that bad. It's like 10 bucks. So that's not so bad. Now this stuff is kind of expensive. This is like, I don't know. I can't remember. I bought this a while back for another painting project. This thing might have been 30 bucks for this can. I'm not sure. But you can buy a can of hardener, which is basically the same thing as this, but it's by a brand called Magic at Tractor Supply, literally on the same shelf as this paint. And I think it's like 10, 15 bucks for the can. So you want those things. And what I suggest you do, if you're doing this, is go ahead and grab yourself some of these cups somewhere. I bought these cups at a professional paint store. They're cheap. They're like $2. So if you can find like a automotive paint supply store near you, you don't buy the paint there, because this is just a frame. It's not going to look anything special. You can just grab their paint, a can of their paint about this size, which actually I have one here. So this can of paint from Sherwin-Williams, the automotive paint store for Sherwin-Williams near near where I live. This can of paint is like all together with the hardener is $100. But this is specific like VW paint. Even like some basic paint is going to be 50, 60 bucks, I would think, out the door. If that's 100 for color coded paint. So this paint is only $15. So that's really what you want to do for this situation. And like I said, you get the hardener a lot cheaper there. But go to the paint store and get these cups. Unless you can get them at like AutoZone. I'm not sure if you can. Because you want these cups because, see on the side there's all these marks on it all over. You need these cups to measure out your specific marks, and they need to be disposable. As you can see, just shit is stuck all over it after the paint. You can clean them out with paint thinner, but these things are so cheap, it's just not even worth the effort to clean them out. Like, just replace them. I have a few back here. So, what you do is you grab your paint, and you're going to mix this 8-4-1. So 8 parts paint, 4 parts thinner, 1 part hardener, right? So you do that. So if you're looking at one of these cups, I'm going to get one that doesn't have a bunch of black shit in it. So that way we can have a better look at it, right? So you can't really use these tables because they're not set up for, they have 8-2-1, but like that's the closest you'll get. You're going to have to use this side of it to get an 8-4-1. So for instance, you can use these ounce marks, right? Because it doesn't really matter as long as it's part for part. So you go and let's say you wanted to make just a small amount. So you say 2, 4, 6, 8, 8. So you put 8 ounces of paint, and then you would put 4 ounces of your thinner. So you'd come up to the 12 ounce mark, and then you would want 1 ounce of hardener. So you'd go right in between 12 and 14 on this particular cup. That would give you an 8-4-1. And you can change that to anything. You could go and cut that in half, right? So you could just say you're going to go 4 ounces, so that's 8. Then you would go to 6, that's your 4. And then you would put in like a tiny bit, like a quarter of the way up, and that'd be your 1. So you can kind of change it around, but it's an 8-4-1 mixture to run this in a spray gun. And you want to use a spray gun like this. This is just a general purpose spray gun. Don't get that confused with this, which is an HVLP gun. Don't use an HVLP gun on this because I don't think that it's an efficient way to do this job. So you want to use this spray gun, which is going to take a little bit more work from your compressor, but not that bad. But this gun, I mean, this gun is good too. You can use this gun. I just use this gun, and I think I got a better result with that gun because I just was laying down more. I think I was just putting out more paint, if that makes sense. And I was running this gun at about 40 psi. So yeah, you mix up in there, put it down in here, and then you run it. There's videos on YouTube on how to use a spray gun specifically. I'm more talking about just how to run this paint specifically. So I did that at 40 pounds, got that all adjusted up right pretty easily. And then I just kind of run the paint, and just did my thing. I think I went through probably, I don't know, I think I mixed up 12 ounce, I mixed up 13 ounces 3 times to get this result. And then, because that paint gun's kind of big, right? So it's hard to fit into tight spaces. So I also had these cans laying around, and I just use these little cans to do little touch-up stuff. This is just going underneath the truck. I'm just trying to cover it up a little bit, help it last a little longer. I mean, the truck's got like 300,000 miles. Like, we're not going to go crazy about it. So I use that little can to hit some small spots, and I'm also going to take that little can to touch it up as it dries. Because as you can see, there's some bare spots here and there. But, sometimes it's hard to see where it was not really enough coverage while it's still wet. It looks like, oh, you covered it really good, and then it starts to dry. And the spots where you were thin start coming out, because that's how paint works. Now, the one thing you guys are probably those of you that don't have a lot of experience with this type of thing are probably asking yourselves is why not use just these cans? And I'm going to tell you why. It's going to cost you way more money. This one can is like, I don't know, like $5, $6, $7 after tax. So to get the coverage to do just this one job, I would estimate to do it out of spray cans, you would need probably at least 10 cans to cover it like this, right? And I'm still not really done, but to get like this main coat on, you would need like, yeah, 10 cans. I would feel safe saying that. So right there, you've got $50 invested. Now, if you take and you bought this for 15 and you bought this for whatever, let's say another 15, so you're at $30, and then you get just a small can of thinner for another 10, you've got, you know, $40 invested, so you're saving 10 over the cans. But not just that, you have way more paint. Like literally, like I've done the work that I've done, I'm only down to here on this can of paint. I've got plenty more material to do more trucks in the future, whereas with the cans, they'd be gone, they'd be done. And plus the cans are a bitch to use, and it's just no fun. The cans, like the spray pattern you're going to get from a can is going to be that big, right? The spray pattern that you get from that gun is going to be like almost like as wide as this trash can, maybe like halfway across this trash can. It's like way bigger, putting out way more paint out of the gun. It's way faster. So you've got the cost and you've got the speed. So Tim, you ever paint your face? Don't use the thinner though. You don't want me to have a thin face? What the heck, man? So yeah, so yeah, you get those guns. Now, obviously, if you don't already have paint guns, I mean, if you have paint guns and you've been painting, you don't even need this video. So I know that you guys have to buy paint guns, so you really have to think about, is it worth it to buy a paint gun and the ancillary products to do this? And I'm going to say yes, because this paint gun right here at Harbor Freight is like $20, right? You get this paint gun, you get this little filter thing. The filter's like $1. And you get a regulator, an air regulator. You can actually regulate it right off your compressor. You do need a compressor, but most people working on cars already have one. And I'm going to show you the piece of shit, little rinky-dink hodgepodge compressor system I've got going on here, because I want to prove to you I ran this gun without stopping, like other than like when I needed to stop. I was never stopped by my compressor the whole time I did this job. And I want to show you what I've got. Look, this is my compressor right here. This is a 10-gallon compressor. Probably if you were to buy something like this brand new, it might be $200, $250. I've got one 10-gallon compressor with a hose to another 10-gallon tank. So I've got 20 gallons, but only running on a 10-gallon head and motor. Okay, and this compressor is probably older than I am. I bought it for $20, working fine on Craigslist. And the guy gave me the other tank because I just was friendly to him. He said, oh, I have another tank, but it doesn't work. And I just tied them in together. So I've got, really, I spent more on the hoses and fittings than I did on this compressor system. And, so I might have $40 invested. But I can do everything with this compressor, not just paint. But it does paint, and it does keep up with it. I mean, the friggin' thing has motor oil in the compressor because the compressor leaks oil. It has like a bad seal in it. So, I've got the most ragtag setup right now, and I just did that. And that's not the first thing I've ever painted either. I painted that whole Volkswagen hood with that same compressor setup. Never had a problem with the HVLP gun. HVLP gun's for more like finish work. That other gun is for like this kind of work. So, I'm not claiming to be a professional. I only do this as needed, once in a while. This job, you don't have to come at it with a fine-tooth comb. I'm not doing it for cosmetics. I'm doing it to help protect this frame because I've done a bunch of welding on this frame, like a lot. I'm trying to make it look like nobody's touched it. That's the reason why I did this. Because a grinder and paint makes you the welder you ain't, as Chucky 2009 says. And I've taken that to the max. Because if I just had one spot painted, you'd really tell where I welded. So I really, really hope that this video was useful to you. If it was, please give me a like. You know, hit me with that subscribe. If you've got questions about what I've done here, throw it right in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. Or I'm sure other users who come across this that have more experience than me will answer anything I can't answer very well. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just showing what I've done and what my results were and how you can get my results. If you have any tips for me, because I do plan to do more stuff like this in the future, because I love being able to take stuff that most people would give up on and give it life again. And that's exactly what I did with this 300,000 mile truck that ran around for at least 10 years, you know, with a salt box on it. Tim in Florida wants to know if I've ever painted a frame before this one. I have not painted this much of a frame. I've painted like specific parts like that I've worked on where I've welded. And I did so with paint cans because it was too small. It didn't really require the gun. This is the first frame I've painted with a gun, and I'm really just kind of showing how I did it, and I'm pretty happy with the results. I think this is pretty good. So the only other thing I've really painted was the Volkswagen hood, which I did like a little live stream when I did that too. And I've painted like other little small parts like bumpers and stuff like that with HVLP guns, not general spray guns. So, you know, this was a learning experience for me. I'm just sharing my learning experience. Don't take this as gospel, as something like, you know, this is definitely the only way to do it. I'm just showing you what I did and how it came out. So, like I said, Tim Florida said, I missed the beginning, why'd you paint it? It was rusted like literally to death, like scale everywhere on it. Like I said, if you look at my other two videos and you saw the state of this truck frame, it was really bad. It's a snowplow truck, had a salt box on it for years. So salt boxes rust out these frames really bad. And I've had to do a bunch of welding and fabrication on this frame. So on top of wanting to prevent more rust, I also needed to paint where I welded anyway. So I just hit the whole thing for this customer. So thanks a lot, guys, and I will catch you all in the next one.